You said you all spent 50 days. Is that right?
50 days in neonatal intensive care, yeah.
That's a tremendous amount of time. Give viewers this actually real quick, Mark, before if viewers needed to head out to work or off to school right now. The March of Dimes, a phone number if you wanted to learn more about the March of Dimes. That's
shame on me.
488-3463. 488-3463. Forgive me, of course, marchofdimes.com.
DrDimes.com, yes.
NaserSano.com. If folks wanted to go onto the Spanish site, there's a real opportunity there. But that 488-DIME, and that's the only reason I remember it because Joe Fisher is so good on beating up that 488-DIME, which is a great opportunity if a viewer wanted to learn more about the March of Dimes or find a way that their school, particularly if they're running out to school right now, how they could get involved. But share with viewers, give them a sense, if you wouldn't mind, for you, your first day or first week in the neonatal intensive care unit. Of course, for your wife, even bigger.
You don't forget it. You don't forget it. You see young children hooked up to all these devices, and you have this large, to say bassinet, but this this bed, and then there's this little life there in the middle. And I remember one of the key days. I mean, for my kids, they're 50 days in intensive care, and they were born about 10 weeks early. They kind of go through a metamorphosis. They look like, in our case, I look back at the pictures, they almost look like wrinkled older men at birth, and their skin is so almost translucent because they weren't supposed to be here, but 10 weeks after.
Right.
So they go from being these older-looking gentlemen to these, really young-looking babies to then healthy kids around the time they were supposed to have arrived to come out. You see these premature preemie diapers, preemie diaper.
Oh, yeah.
It's about the size of a cocktail napkin, to put it into context. So the next time you're at one of our local bars, restaurants, and you have that little napkin on the plate, that's about the size of those preemie diapers that they use in the intensive care. I remember the one day I went into intensive care, and I thought, this is very odd to me. I look and I see what is an IV in my child's head. So what's tell me what's going on here. And they said we had to find a vein. In essence, we have to move it around constantly. That was a place where we knew we could hit them that we haven't hit them previously. So the intensive care as well is a very quiet place. Recently the board of the March of Dimes had the chance to go up to Florence, and I was unable to make that trip, but I have a good understanding of what goes on in there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
One of the things they talk about is the quiet of the area. Quiet, because those babies really aren't crying at that age. It's a very serene kind of place. I remember some of the... comfortable is not the word, but there's certainly a peace when, as a parent, you're going through that experience, and you're looking for a kind of a place where you can just kind of rest a little bit. So I would sit in the rocking chairs there between my kids, might read to them their children's Bible, and then every so often I just might doze off in the middle of the afternoon, and the nursing staff would know exactly what you're going through as a family, because it doesn't just affect the children, it certainly affects the family, and they just leave you be. They know that you've got a calm and a peaceful place. And I will say this, I'm thinking back on my own experience for the NICU. My boys came out healthy. 1 in 8 children in South Carolina is born early. 24 kids today in our state will be born early. 2 that I can think of, and maybe 3 if I investigated. In the time we were in the intensive care, my kids came out healthy and well. And I think I can think of 2, if not 3 kids that were unable to come out healthy and well. So I don't think you ever forget that.
Golly.
So a chance to give back a little bit and help the March of Dimes, it's the absolute least that I could do.
What can viewers do now if they haven't put a team together, if they're learning about Walk America for the first time? Of course, the Ambassador Baby is a critical role, and as you talked about on January 30th at the Hard Rock Cafe, Horry County Walk America kicked off. I know you were there as one of the board members. A lot of folks were out there to kick that off. They're putting teams together. How easy is it for someone to do a team? It's
simply as easy as giving me a message at the institution, my phone number and email. I'll share that with you. But it's a matter of contacting Joe Fisher, or it's a matter of going online to marchofdimes.com and read some about what the March of Dimes does. The ambassador family role is to give you that tangible thing. In my family, we do lots of company visits. You know, we might bring the work group together around lunchtime or maybe at the end of a shift. Here's this family. Here are these kids. We want to just thank you for the work that you're doing as a company and as a team supporting the March of Dimes. As you go about your fundraising work, these are kids you're helping. These are kids you have helped. So it's meant to make it very tangible. So I know that I've already told Ms. Fisher, let me do visits. You know, if there's a company, a group of folks that need to see something tangible, what does the March of Dimes do? Let us come to you. Let us come and help you tell that story. And that's a large role of the ambassador family. They're there at the event.
Right.
You take great pride in seeing the children. But right now they're engaged in doing different interviews and in print and broadcast to help tell that story. But then you don't often see those company visits, those breakfast meetings with folks to let them know, well, here's the March of Dimes and here's how we do things and here's the good work that's occurring.
I love it. And some of the visual aspects you were talking about, if children can't be there with you, but if an adult goes in to talk about
Absolutely.
their role, if they're bringing a preemie diaper in or bringing a cocktail napkin in or a bag of apples.
It really
and
grabs
can say,
you.
if you've got children, you probably remember the 7 and 8 pound type talk. We're talking less than 3 pounds. Or for the ambassador babies this year, talking about 1 pound and 2 ounces or 1 pound
absolutely.
and 4 ounces.
Imagine that.
You can't, can you? I mean, you can. Most adults you're talking to can.
But when it's one of the interesting things, when I first had contact with Coach David Bennett, and said, Coach, I'm here to support your efforts.
Right.
And you talk to him and say, well, one of his children was born early.
Right.
And one of his coaches had a child born early.
Right.
So the more you visit with folks, if you see a 10-year-old, you have no idea that they benefited in the past from the March of Dimes, that they were prematurely born, that the March of Dimes worked and helped people, and today they're healthy and vibrant kids. So it's often interesting. It's 1 in 8. So most of us in our social network, if you talk to some folks, you'll find out each of us has a friend, a family member, work colleague, what have you, who's been affected by prematurity and hopefully benefited from the work of the March of Dimes.
And prematurity surely doesn't discriminate. It goes in all races, all, as you say, all points in the pregnancy, as long as it's earlier than 37 weeks. Holly Hayes was with us a few weeks ago out at Redline Power Sports, the state director. I think you met her at one of the board meetings recently. It was fascinating hearing her talk about, as you say, your twin boys born at 30 weeks versus someone born at a normal or pregnancy term there, but anything earlier than 37 weeks, and the impact, as you say, not only on families, but on society and on the workplace.
Oh, you know, again, the bigger picture. I remember taking a good friend of mine into the intensive care. He was my dean in the upstate, Bill Word. And I took Bill into the intensive care just to see it. A good friend. I'd like to share this with you, Bill. You can see what these folks do daily. How did I know that now 6 years later, Bill is a grandparent. His second grandchild was born at 26 weeks. His grandchild was born weighing less than 1.5 pounds. And his grandchild now today is a healthy 5-month-old baby, but still fear of some of those lingering problems. You know, when you arrive that early, you keep seeing success, but you always have that wonder, is there something hearing related, something development related, something speech related that's just not showing up yet. So you just never know. That's why we're very pleased. My boys are healthy, normal, functioning kids in kindergarten. And that was really the goal we had. You know, with speech therapy and whatever it was, you know, you just never know what the longer term impact is from prematurity. And we just wanted to know that when they hit kindergarten, they'll be normal, healthy, curious, vivacious boys. And that's exactly what we have.
Since it's 1 in 8, and that is a tremendous number, there's still the 7 children that are born a normal term. Things come out okay. You use those words, you never know. And you think back even prior to your daughter's birth, a normal pregnancy.
Absolutely.
And when you're talking to a parent who doesn't know if their child's going to come out early, come out premature or not, what's the most important point you really want to push to a parent or any adult watching, whether it's a grandparent or a loved one, just to make sure, what would that be?
I'd probably say, but the grace of God. We don't know who's gonna be affected, but we know your family and friends are affected. We know that 1 in 8 of us are affected. So it may not be you that's affected. Maybe it could be you in a future pregnancy. Maybe it's going to be your grandchild, as it turned out to be my dear friend. The March of Dimes exists to help babies, to help sick babies, and to help their families. And it may not have affected you directly, but it may in the future. I hope it doesn't. but you have the chance to help other families, other parents, and they desperately need your help.
Those are great words, Mark. Thanks so much for being with us this
My
morning.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Stay tuned to Professor Mark Mitchell coming up next. Been visiting this morning with a business professor. Think about that, a professor of marketing. He's probably pretty good with numbers. Of course, we got a couple of good numbers to get out. He shared with one off camera. He meant to give it earlier on, the 349-2392. 349-2392. He wants you to call. I say he's pretty good with numbers because think about it. We're about 70 days away. 70 days away. The date's coming up close, April 28th, about 70 days away. If you did what they were doing back in President Roosevelt's time and just got a dime a day, you'd be able to get $7 between now and the time of the walk. If you took the time to think, be a little aggressive, maybe I can get $1 a day, $70. Think about the impact that could have. You don't know. Another good phone number, simple, 488-3463. That's 488-DIME. If you don't want to be a part of the Coastal Carolina team, you can also just set up your own team. You can make a $70 or a $700. Be aggressive. Think $10 a day. Call on a couple of friends. Call on a couple of loved ones. You heard Mark say it. You just don't know. By the grace of God, you don't know if you'll be impacted directly, but someone you know will be. Take the time to pick up the phone or go online. He talked about marchofdimes.com. You can call the 349-2392 number or the 488-3463 number. Whatever you do, make the call. Get involved. Get out there April 28th. 9 a.m. registration. The walk's at 10. It'll be a beautiful day. Whether it's rain or shine, it'll be a beautiful day because the fight to save babies is a common one for a lot of folks. The goal's the same. The day will be beautiful. Get out there. Make the call.